You're listening to Just One More, the global community striving to prove that when life feels impossible, all it takes is just one more step, one more breath, and one more day to pull you through. All of this began when your host, Brooke McIntosh, decided to run 14,200 kilometres around Australia in 2025. 204 days of raw truth, real conversations, and turning her deepest pain into purpose. In each episode, you'll hear Brooke walking or even running on a treadmill. This is Brooke's creative process and where her best ideas and hardest truths come to light. Some episodes are 100% Brooke, others will bring guests, but every episode is designed to inspire you to choose courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, and resilience over giving up. This is Just One More. Let's chat.
Alrighty fam, back with another episode, and this one we're literally going to be talking to you all, well, when I say we, I've got this habit of just saying we, and I mean I right now, but I'm going to be talking to you all about the training ground and what it actually took for me to be able to run around Australia. Now, I fully believe that my life is my gym floor. My life is my training ground, because every hardship, every challenge, every knockdown, I get back up. And when you're in the gym, it's all about the reps that you can do. And fuck, babe, I've done a lot of reps in my life. So I knew if there was anyone who was going to be able to run around Australia and become the fastest female to do for in 204 days, that it was going to be myself. This is exactly what we did. Training for the run around Australia, I took roughly about 15 months. 15 months out of my life to go all in and train full time. Now, on top of this, I was juggling a new relationship. I was juggling my business. I was juggling 2 beautiful stepchildren. I was juggling life. Socialization, being able to be with family, be able to go out with the girlfriends. And it piled up, and it honestly became a lot that now looking back, I say to people, running was the easy part. Because it absolutely is. And when I was running, I literally ran anywhere from 60 to 100 kilometres a day, every single day. But that was the easy part. It was the training and the preparation that was the most hardest part. Because in the training and preparation, it wasn't just physically getting myself to the gym, getting myself out on the trails and running the distances that I needed to run. It was juggling life and everything in between. It was having the courage to have the courageous conversations that I needed to have with people in order for the dreams to come true. It was learning how to co-parent and step-parent my two beautiful children. It was learning how to be a partner and be able to give to Matt what he actually needed while still chasing my dreams. And I'm so incredibly proud, blessed, and grateful to have such a supportive network around me now, to have such a supportive man who believes in me and who backed me from day one. But training for this looked like 7 days a week. Every single morning, get up, would have my coffee with Matt, and I would hit the pavement. It started off as small, and my kilometres started at roughly running 60 kilometres a week, and that was over a 4-day period. And then when we got 9 months away from the start line, it got to about 200 kilometres a week, and it built rapidly. Then I would have some weeks where I would only run 2 or 3 times because we would have the deload weeks. But most weeks I was running 5-6 days a week. I was strength training. Now this is the most important part about the whole run, is the foundations, and the foundations I'm talking about right now is the strength component. So I've been strength training since I was 13 years old, and while training to run, I strength trained 3 times a week, and that was a non-negotiable for me because I loved lifting heavy things, I loved being in the gym, and I loved pushing my body to see what it could do in the gym space. But my training alternated. Instead of lifting super heavy weights, I actually started doing more jumps. I started doing more mobility. I started doing more, just a whole different approach to my training. Instead of training to make my body sore, I trained to see how far my body could go and the longevity of it. So I worked really closely with my strength coach, Jono. Absolute legend he was. Every single week I went into him, we would have like a full-on therapy session, just talking about our lives, hyping each other up, motivating each other in the gym space. And he helped me get to the start line. I've been working with Jono for the last 3 years. He actually helped me achieve the 1,600 kilometre run as well. And through this, it was actually a real incredible permission slip for Jono to also, he was not a run coach. He was not a run strength coach. He did not even know much about running, but he pushed himself. He pushed himself outside of his comfort zone because he had a client in me come to him and say, I want to do this. And instead of lacking the belief, he lacked the knowledge, but instead of just staying there, he chose to elevate. And he chose to have courage to educate himself more. And I was his guinea pig, and we did it. But every time I'd go into the gym, I'd speak to him and he'll be like, Brooke, I've just learned this about runners. Brooke, I've just learned this about technique. I've just learned this. Let's implement this. And I mean, guys, whatever we did, it freaking worked. But it was so cool to see someone step up and actually step into the challenge and take it all on as well, as if it was his own. The education that he gave me, the knowledge that he provided me, and the willingness to learn and grow with me was incredible. And I'll be so forever grateful for Jono. So thank you so much, Jono. And then I had a run coach, Chris. Chris was my run coach for this period, and he still is now. But right now I'm not running, hence why I'm walking on a treadmill, because we're at recovery stage. But Chris, he was with me every step of the way as well. And when I was running around Australia, he checked in on me and made sure I was doing A-OK. But he wrote all my programs. And I remember catching up with Chris for the first time and telling him my big grand plan of what I wanted to do. And he was like, okay, let's do this. And that was the most important thing. He looked at me, he said, you are batshit crazy, but we are 100% going to do this, and I'm going to get you to the start line to the best of my ability. Whereas my previous run coach, she didn't say any of that. And I still have not had a message from her at all. So shout out to you as well. Hello. That isn't a dig, but that is just to show that you should never ever attach someone else's limiting beliefs on as your own. Because whatever they project out is theirs. You do not have to claim them as your own. You have at any moment in time got the permission slip to give it back and to not take their limiting beliefs on as your own. It's what you got to do. So Chris made an epic training program. Every single week I checked in with him. Every single month we tailored it. Every single month we altered it to change it. Because at the start of my training I was running and I had a lot of speed endurance in there, endurance sessions. And then it got to the point where he was like, Brooke, you don't need endurance now. You literally just need to keep clocking up the kilometres on your legs. Because keeping in mind, guys, I've only been running for 3 years. So my legs don't have that much kilometres on it if you want to talk in running language. So I had to clock up the kilometres. In order to clock up the kilometres, it took so much more of my time. So instead of running 4 or 5 times a week, 10, 15 kilometres, I would run 4 times a week, 50 kilometres each day. That was about 6 to 7 hours of my time out of my day. So it was absolutely a full-time job, but one again, I loved so deeply. I loved so deeply because the feeling that you get when you go out onto the trails and you start moving your body, no matter the pace, this is why I just don't run for pace, I run for fun. Every single time I'd come back in from a run, I would feel so amped up, so fired up, and so clear. Because running, it is my therapy. It helps me make sense of the world. And at this time as well, I was also building my businesses. So I would be out running on the trails on the phone to my clients. And they'll be like, are you still running? I'm like, yeah, but do you know what? I learned that this was actually the best place to instill healthier boundaries and time boundaries for me. So each time I'd pick up the phone to a client, they would have 30 or 40 seconds to tell me their problem and for us to solve it because they realized I was out running and they didn't want to keep me for too long. So I got a lot of shit done while running and while making moves that way. As I got closer, the training ramped up, the kilometers ramped up. I started having a little knee niggle. It was the only injury in the training phase that I had on my right knee. And this is the right knee that I had a scooter accident and it full blew up about 7 years ago. So I slowly started having some niggles in my knee, but I never gave up. Kept getting up. I kept doing the rehab. I was a little bit shaken at how am I going to be able to keep going on if this happens when I'm running around Australia. And I stuck to the plan and I stuck to the prehab. Everything was prehab, right? So I remember just being in the gym and I was doing all these weird, awkward movements to strengthen my ankles, to strengthen my hip flexors, to strengthen my shins so I didn't have shin splints. I was doing all these weird, awkward exercises and I'm like, are they even doing anything? Like, it's not hurting, it's not challenging me, da da da. But I realized that everything's in the prevention. So I didn't have to, even now, I don't have to focus so much on the cure because my body's built robust because I did the reps. And I did the reps to the best of my ability, no matter how boring it got, no matter how repetitive it got, no matter how bloody annoying it got. Some days I got up and I'm like, shit, are we really doing this? And I'm like, yep, yes, baby, you are. You've got to run 40Ks today. You've got to go to the gym. You've got to drive down and see Jono. I didn't actually work with a nutritionist. I kind of just did all the nutrition myself, and I realized the more food that I would put into my body, the further my body would go. Now, as someone who has suffered with eating disorders in my past, what I realized is food is fuel. And just as we put fuel in our car, we need to put fuel into our bodies in order for us to keep going. So I kept fueling myself. While I was running, I would eat. I couldn't have the gels because my gels would upset my stomach, but I would eat. I would eat Vegemite sandwiches. I would literally eat muesli bars, bacon and egg rolls. Macca's became my favourite place to go, so Macca's, come on. We're still waiting for that sponsorship, but anyway. Bacon and egg rolls from Macca's. I did this one run where I ran from my home in the hills all the way through Perth, and I stopped off at 5 Macca's along the way and got a bacon and egg roll each time. And that was a day that I had to run 65 kilometres. And I just found the small enjoyments in it. Because even though it became repetitive and boring, I found the small micro moments that I could be grateful for, that I could inject a little bit more humour, a little bit more joyous. And that's what really got me through. And that's what I believe in life is if you're going through hard and challenging times right now, if you're pursuing your dreams, if you're working a 9 to 5, like what can you actually do in your day-to-day life to make it more enjoyable? You're a stay-at-home mum, you're looking after the kids. How can you bring more enjoyment to it? Because life is made to be enjoyable. So I'd look for the small moments that would just light me up. I'd have conversations while I'm running through Perth. I'd be eating my bacon and egg while running down the Kwinana Freeway. Remember all the times whenever I'd walk into a place to get more water, to get a Powerade, to get a bacon and egg muffin, I would have my running vest on, and the looks that I got were just hysterical. They're like, what? She's running and she's coming in from Macca's? I'm like, yeah, I am. Anyway, training went on for about 15 months and holy smokes, was there so much to prep for this run. It wasn't just the physical feat, as I said previously. It was the team. It was the sponsors. It was organising the caravan. There was so much more that went into it. And I was extremely hopeful that this time round, because I had already ran 1,600 kilometres, that I would have more people wanting to support, more people willing to jump on board, more people aligning their business, their company to the vision, to the mission that was so grand, to run around Australia, to impact our nation, to have just one more conversation about our mental health. And actually, I was hit with the reality. The reality is, no one gives a shit about what you're doing. No one gives a shit about your dreams if you're not willing to take the aligned action every single day. And at the start, no one gives a shit. It's not until you start succeeding, it's not until you've actually done the thing, more and more people come on board then. So in the quiet moments when no one's cheering, you need to cheer for yourself. I needed to cheer for myself. Matt cheered for me, and I'm so grateful that he did. In the moments that I'd reach out to sponsors, I reached out to 250 sponsors before I left. It was crickets. Crickets on crickets. I had one yes, and I'm extremely grateful for Revo Fitness for coming on board. Revo Fitness came on board and they sponsored the mission because so many people from their gym floor had been sharing my story and my stuff and my previous 1,600 kilometre run with them. And they seen that they seen the gap, and they seen this is their moment to actually help her make a difference. And they come on board and they sponsored $10,000 to get the mission up off the ground. So when they did, and when I got that phone call, I was like, oh my God, okay, I can do this. If one person is there, absolutely, I'm going to do this anyway. But to make this mission happen, in January, I made the decision again to go all in, to stop half-assing it and to go all in on this vision, on this mission that I held on my heart. And instead of half-assing, diddle-daddling in what if, I jumped. And when I jumped, I sold my house because I needed funds to pay for a caravan and to actually pay for the run around Australia. I sold my car because I realised that I'm not going to be driving for 7 months, so I don't need a vehicle. And I don't need the rego that comes with it as well. So I sold my house to get rid of my mortgage. I sold my car. And I sold my business that I just spent the last 2.5 years building up from the ground. I sold it because I knew that that is not what I wanted to do when I finished this run. I wanted to go all in on impacting, on inspiring, in speaking, and all in on coaching and mentoring. So I sold it all. In January this year, I sold it all. And I put all of that the funds into the run, into lift the run off the ground. So I knew I had a buffer. I paid off all of my debt. I put some into stocks and into shares to safeguard myself for future, 110%, because we've got to mix heart and wisdom together so we don't fuck ourselves over in future. So yes, I put some in stocks to future guard myself. But the rest, I put into this run. I put into the mission because I had the belief that was way bigger than myself, and I had the urge that was way bigger than any pull that I've ever felt in my life. And I was not going to let the lack of sponsorships, the lack of corporate, the lack of belief from the outside world dictate what I was going to do. My family was waiting for me to fold. Matt was waiting for me to fold. The kids were waiting for me to call it quits, but I was never going to call it quits, because your vision does not wait for permission from anyone else. Your vision needs you to go all in, and for you to say, fuck it, I'm there. To not half-ass it. So we went all in. 2 weeks out, throughout the sponsorship reach out, we'd secured 2 major sponsors. 2 weeks out of the run, these sponsors pulled out without any warning. They just said simply, sorry, we can't help you anymore. We don't think it's possible. We can't help you anymore. And those 2 sponsors were the major ones who were actually going to fully lift this off the ground for me. And they backed out. I walked back inside after receiving the phone call. I walked back inside and I remember Matt looking at me. He's like, are you okay? And I was like, yep. He's like, what's going on? And I told him. And I could see in him that he kind of shattered, but also he went calm. And I was like, instantly, I was like, cool, next, what do we do? Okay, cool, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I jumped back up, I picked myself back up, and I moved on to the next plan. And I moved on to the next solution. And Matt was standing there, and he's like, so you're not going to do it? I was like, no, babe, I've got 2 weeks to sort this out. I'm going to do it. I'm taking off on March 2nd. But now I've got more time pressure to get this done. And off we went. In 2 weeks, we made the caravan come through. Matt and I went and purchased a caravan. Good friends of ours wrapped the caravan for us so it was all branded and ready to go. We made the car come through. Good old GWA, thank you so much for coming through. In 11 days, they sponsored us a car and a fuel voucher to be able to get all the way around Australia, and they helped fund one of my support team. They helped fund one of my support team's wages so that they didn't need to sacrifice 6 months out of their life to come help me make my dream come true. So GWA played a massive part of this whole mission. And when I got off the phone to James, I literally just bursted into tears. When I picked up the car and I seen the car had Brooke McIntosh, Just One More, GWA, all walking together, I bursted into tears crying. This company come on board with 11 days notice. They didn't need the slips. They didn't need how many lives it's going to touch. They didn't need to know all of the ins and outs of how much corporate sponsorships are they going to get back in the receivables, how many times we're going to post on socials, the logos. All they knew was this mission was bigger than anyone else, and Brooke's heart is what's driving it. And James jumped on board. And I'm so grateful that he did, because it set the whole mission off, and it actually gave me the belief, a little spark that I needed to be at that start line on March the 2nd. So when I seen the car and the caravan all sitting there, we were packing it 2 days out. I remember packing it. I just remember looking up being like, holy shit, I don't care if no one believes. I'm going to go out, I'm going to run around Australia, and I'm going to have just one more conversation, because it's not up to the big heavy hitters to make the change in the world. It's up to us, each as individuals, to make the change in the world. And it starts with us. And I knew if I could impact one person's life, then my job was done. If I could have one conversation on the side of the highway with the truckie, my job was done. If I could make it to the start line and impact those who came to see me off, my job was done. Anything else was an absolute added bonus. But if I had waited for the belief from others, if I had waited for the sponsorships and the corporates to come in, when I actually did think they were going to come a little bit more easier this time round, because I already had proof that I could run. I already had proof that I could run distance. But if I was waiting for all of that, I wouldn't be here today. So I want you to remember that if you're not out there every single day chasing your dreams, how is anyone else ever going to believe in you? Because you first have to believe in yourself, and it is your responsibility to bring your dreams into reality. No one gives a shit. No one's watching you. They're caught up in their own reality. They're caught up in their own life. So whatever it is that you want to do in this world, do it. Take just one more step, because you can achieve anything. Don't take no for an answer. Every no is sending you one step closer to every yes. The yeses are there. You just have to look deeper, look wider, and be more clear. So I got to the start line, and oh my God, the hype was incredible. The hype, the build-up. Heidi Anderson did incredible. She had the media there. She had the papers there. Kendall from the Blue Tree Project, she did incredible to set it all up. We had a massive Revo Arch fitness sign. We had probably about 100 people join us on the day to come run. But what we did, in true me style, is we had a beautiful drop-in. I didn't even take into consideration what time I would have to wake up in the morning to get there on time. I didn't take into consideration how long the day was going to be. And I didn't take into consideration what day one was actually going to require of me. And on day one, I had planned to run 80 kilometers. And it was so freaking hard, because in the morning I had to wake up at 3 a.m. to get to City Beach by 5 a.m. on time, because I really wanted to do a drop-in. And I really wanted Heidi Anderson and Jana to send me off in the most beautiful, powerful way ever. And they did. We held a collective circle. We dropped into the mission. I shared some of the story, and I had a collective all around me celebrating, giving me the strength and the courage that I needed to go all the way around Australia with. We had a beautiful sunrise session at the beach, a beautiful sunrise dip, and then we went over to the start line. And at the start line, that's where the Blue Tree Project met us. We had a beautiful session with Kendall sharing her story. Why I chose the Blue Tree Project as a mental health charity to raise funds for was because they're doing so incredible things in our rural communities. Kendall is a living proof of turning your deepest pains into your purpose in life. She lost her brother in 2018 to suicide, and now Jaden is still with us through the Blue Tree Project. She paints trees blues, inspiring our nation to have hope. She educates the rural communities and does incredible things with workshops, community events, functions, all of that. And that's why I chose to raise funds for the Blue Tree Project. So we had all of that set up at the start line. And I just remember being at the start line, looking around, thinking, holy shit, I made it. And if this is how far I make it, then I'm so proud of this. I'm proud of this moment. I'm proud of everyone coming together, standing together, supporting, believing. Or there were so many there who didn't believe and they wanted to see me fail. But they still showed up for the bigger mission. Being on the start line that day, so much hype, so much amp. And then we just took off. And I had probably about 50 odd people run with me for the first section. And then they were dropping off like flies. They ran 5Ks, incredible, so good. We had incredible conversations along the way, especially with another lady who was going to then, in June this year, go walk the length of the UK. I had an incredible conversation with the lady who opened up about her struggles, with the teenager who opened up about her eating disorders. And one by one, I looked back and people slowly started dropping. And then Bonnie, there was 4 people who ran half a marathon with me. And Bonnie held on until the 22-kilometre mark. And I was so grateful for that. As soon as Bonnie dropped off, I was on my own. And that's when the darkness hit. That's when I looked around and I was like, holy shit, this is you, me, and the pavement for the next 7 months. I don't know how I'm going to keep going, but I knew that the conversations that I just had, they are what kept me going in those challenging moments. I got lost running through Fremantle on day 1, and as soon as I hit the highway, going down through Rockingham, it's when all of the adrenaline dump that I just felt all in the morning, that's when I just all dumped, and it literally just wore off. And I was a blabbering mess on the side of the highway this was literally about a marathon for the day. On day 1, I was a blabbering mess on the side of the highway. And I just remember looking around. There's a video of me as well. I just remember looking around and I was curled over by this bush and I was just bawling my eyes out, and then I could just smell something horrific. I looked down and it was a dead kangaroo, and I just lost it laughing. And then all of a sudden, someone drives past and screams out, "Go, Brooke McIntosh, just one more, you fucking got this." And I lost it again. And I lost it again because I realised in that moment the run was never about me. And the only way and the only reason I was going to be able to finish the run around Australia was for each and every single person. It was because of community. And in that moment, whoever drove past on the highway when I was near Rockingham, bawling my eyes out, looking down at that dead Skippy, he drove past and he gave me the hope and the inspiration that I needed. And community is what was going to pull me through this mammoth mission. And community is exactly what pulled me through. Day 1, I was down in the dumps. That person drove past and gave me all the inspiration and the hope that I needed to keep going on. My best friend, Amanda, she came out when I had 20 kilometres to go that day. She came out and helped me. She reminded me of my why. She helped me connect to my breath and to just take one more step, just one more, just one more, just one more, just one more, is all that she would say to me. She would be like, stop, breathe, just one more, just one more, just one more. And we kept going because everything was coming up for me. I started vomiting, I started hurling, and I had to get to the finish line of 80 kilometers on day one by 8 o'clock because people were waiting there for me. I bailed on the media, didn't do that. I told them to go away. But I made it. I made it out the front of Silver Sands Tavern, and when I got there, there was so many people there waiting for me to cheer me on, to say thank you, to ask me how the day went. And it re-inspired me. It re-inspired the hope, and it gave me, I guess, more motivation. It gave me more fire to show up the next day and go again because of the community that was there and the conversations that we were having. That is the lead up to the Run Around Australia and day one of the Run Around Australia. And soon, in the next episodes, I'm going to be sharing a lot more of the untold stories, the conversations on the side of the highways that I had with the truckies and the community members that kept inspiring me to push through. But right now, as always, at the end of every episode is your Just One More challenge. I want you to think about what is one thing right now keeping you stuck? What is your challenge that you want to overcome, that you need to overcome? Is it the lack of belief from yourself, from your family, from your friends? What is it that is going to move your needle forward and closer to your dreams and your vision? What is your just one more step that you need to take today? And like always, share it with us on justonemore.theofficial on social media, and we'll do our best to respond and help you guys wherever we can.
You just walked another leg of this journey with Brooke. Thank you for choosing to take one more step, one more breath, and one more day today. Now it's your turn. Hit the follow button, leave us your 5-star rating, and drop in the comments the moment that moved you the most or hit you the hardest. Do the Just One More challenge and tag us at justonemore.theofficial or hashtag JustOneMore. Next episode will drop Tuesday, but until then, keep choosing courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, and resilience over giving up. This is Just One More. Let's keep talking.